Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Silent Man podcast. My name is Javier Talamantes. I'm your host. Just wanted to go ahead and start by saying thank you so much for giving us this opportunity and this time to listen and to be a part of what we are achieving here, which is unity. The unity of man in the search for answers, where we can find out why we feel alone, in some cases depressed, feel isolated, and we're here to tell you that we are going to be the support system for all of us to become one and to not have to feel those pains anymore. So, like I said, once again, thank you so much for the opportunity. So let's get started. Today's episode speaks of a couple of different subjects. The first one being the echo you leave, and so we're going to go ahead and go into the echo. Is something that you can look at in regards to what you're putting out, right? What you're putting out, and we all know for a fact that from past episodes, I'm the subject of a lot of the content because I've also found that by speaking of what's going on in my life, I'm able to also heal. I'm also able to isolate different problems that go on in my life on a daily basis. I've spoken many times in regards to how my day starts, everything that it entails, and then even all the way to the very end, right, where we're trying to get our thoughts together and almost kind of getting ready for the next day or maybe the following week, or it depends on how you take things. But I'm here to let you know, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's so much that it can be overwhelming. And I'm speaking from a point of, I've done a lot of motivational work. I worked on myself, my relationships. I'm not perfect. I still have programs that are not serving me, on a daily basis. I'm working on that, breaking those down, reformatting them, to plug them back in. And I kind of look at it like an equalizer, right? So if you're looking at an equalizer and you've got all these different, knobs, and you're kind of wanting to kind of play with them and get them to the point where they're going to be fine-tuned, and now you can understand what's coming out, right? And so in my mind, I'm always tinkering, working on things to be able to speak more clearly, to be better at communication, and ultimately, like I said, leave a good sound wave where I can talk to someone, they can understand me clearly, and therefore they're able to speak to me and give me information about what's going on with them. And so therefore I can also understand clearly what they're going through. So, the echo, we can even say it's like the echo effect, or it's, I personally feel that when I put out positive vibes, right? I'm big on wanting to wish people well, wish them good, wish them to be the best version of themselves. And I've found out in my life, or at least I think, right, because even though I've worked hard to, let the ego go, there's still bits and pieces of it inside of me. And so do I care what people think? Not necessarily, and to the point where I've learned that everyone's going to have opinions about you. regardless of what you, regardless of how well meaning, or how well you want to, express yourself. There's always going to be somebody that just doesn't, maybe doesn't like you, maybe doesn't agree with you, so on and so forth. And a perfect example was an exercise I did in a seminar, and the exercise went like this. It basically, the facilitators at the front of the room and tells everyone, okay, we want everyone to walk around, and I think they put us in these little. I think they put us in these little groups, right? And so we had to sit. I think we had to stand in front of our chairs. And so then they went on to tell everyone, okay, so here's the instructions on how we're going to do this exercise. You're going to go up to, each and every one of you are going to go up to each other in a certain form. You're going to go up to each other so everyone gets through, and you're going to let them know, your experience of them. Or I think it also had to do with I like you or I don't like you. That's what it was. Okay. So they basically said, go up to so-and-so, like each and every person, and then you're going to just, in silence, you're going to take whatever they say, and they're going to tell you, I like you, I don't like you. Okay. So then they started, and people are coming around, and it was amazing. Like, you're on like the balls of your feet, and you're just like kind of shaking because you want everyone to like you. At least I do, right? At that point, I was like, yeah, I want everybody to like me because I'm a likable guy, like. And so then you had the women and men in the seminar started coming up to you, and then next they came up to me. And the first one said, I like you. And, almost kind of felt, or at least I almost felt like going, yes, like the person likes me. And then, but, you just kind of, I just kind of gave like a nod, like, okay, thank you. Like, that was my way of saying thank you. So then, went on like that. And then next, this girl, really like little short gal, basically said, I don't like you. And I was like, you could see my face, just like sadness, like my shoulders kind of slumped down. And I was like, what? Like, what did I do to this girl? Like, and then next, the next person's, I like you. And the next person, no, I don't like you. And so on and so forth. So then they said, okay, everybody go back to, wherever you were sitting, and look up at the front, the facilitator's there. And so then, the facilitator sent out the microphone to see who wanted to give their experience, right? And so, the first one, somebody raised their hand. They brought the microphone over to them, and they said, the facilitator asked, what was the experience that you felt, right, from this exercise? And so the first person got up, and they were like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that so many people didn't like me, like. And then the facilitator did something interesting. They said, oh, who here didn't like this person? Can you talk on the microphone? so then this guy gets up, and they ask him, why don't you like this person? And I said, because he reminded me of so-and-so in my life. And they're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then then a girl got up, and she said, he reminds me of a boyfriend that I had, and I just didn't like him. Right? And so, we all clapped, thank you so much. Everybody sat down. And so they said, and so they said, who would like to, know why they didn't like you or they liked you? And I remember I raised my hand. I was like, yeah, I want to know. I want to know what's going on here. And so then they brought the microphone over, and I said, yeah, I want to know, like, why people didn't like me or liked me. And so then they said, okay, who here, said they didn't like him or liked him? And so then I remember this girl raised her hand, a short little girl. And it was the same one that had told me earlier she didn't like me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful that she got up. I want to see, like in my mind, right, in split seconds, I said, I want to hear what she's got to say. So she said, like he's a great guy. I don't have any issues with him. But she says, but you know what? I was picked on by big, tall people. And so therefore I don't like tall people. And so that was the only reason I chose to not like him. And I was like, wow. Like I was floored, right? And then they gave the microphone over to somebody else. And they said, okay, who here liked him? And then this guy said, it was me. And they gave him the microphone. And then the guy said, the facilitator asked, why'd you say you liked him? And he says, oh, because I like the way he dresses. He's tall. It's a lot of the things that I wish I had, And so that was interesting too. So the story about this is, and the reason I shared it was because, in life, you're going to go through people that like you and don't like you, and it can be something as frivolous as, when I was young, I had a friend, and when he left me, when he wasn't my friend anymore, then I didn't like him anymore, and you resemble my friend, right? So it could be something that doesn't even have anything to do with you, but because of our egos, we don't allow that, and therefore think of it like a strike system, right? You got to strike against you because somebody doesn't like you, and then therefore because they don't like you, now you feel like you're doing something wrong. And us as men, as much as we say that we don't care what people think about us, we actually technically do. And it's not just men, it's also women. But, in regards to men, it's for the simple reason, like, we all want to be likable, right? We all want to be likable. Not so much that we want to fit in a box where everyone's going to like us, but we definitely want to feel likable where, it's like when you were in, or like when I was in elementary, right? I was, this pudgy kid, didn't have many friends, wasn't popular whatsoever. And so, like the girls didn't like me. There was other things going on there too. And so I had a low self-esteem about me, right? Because of that. Think about this, guys. I'm talking about when I was, like an elementary school, right? So let's say I was maybe 9, maybe between 8 and 10, right? And look at these powerful things that were going on inside of me. And, my parents never asked about it because basically I never talked about it. And I think, going back to that is where the inner child also comes in. The inner child is basically, now we're this adult. We've gone through tons of wars. We've been hurt. We've been maimed in some cases. We've had broken parts of our bodies, and I'm not talking about in the sense of a broken hand or broken leg or broken bone, but broken hearts, broken spirits, and so we've been through a lot, right? But if you go back to when you were a kid, right? And there's something here that I just want to share with you. There's a foundation in psychology that basically states that the subconscious patterns that drive adult behavior are most deeply formed between ages of 4 and 8. And then they go on to say that by age 9, a child's brain starts to resemble that of an adult in terms of cognitive processing, but the emotional software is already installed. Now take that into consideration. As a kid, you were already like being programmed to have certain beliefs, right, about yourself, not about other people, right? Because this is not we're not this show, The Silent Man, is not about other people. It's about us, right? And how we think and what our thought patterns are, and how we came to be who we are at this moment, regardless if you're 18 years old or 17 years old or you're 80 years old. How if our minds can go back to that point where how did we create these programs about ourselves, right? I'm not good enough, you know. They don't like me, I'm not popular. And like I said, I'm talking about myself, right, guys? So I'm talking about programs that I remember as a kid of learning, right? People are mean, right? They're disrespectful, and so on and so forth. Because I can just go on forever about these things. Because, like I said, I lived through it. And when I was living through it, I didn't understand why I felt certain ways, I didn't understand, growing up, after that age that they're talking about, being already like in the 10-year-old, 11, 12-year-old. It wasn't until I was 13 years old that I really kind of changed my mindset to a certain extent of not feeling the way I was feeling about myself. But think about it, guys. We're now adults, right? And here we are, going through things, right? And the only difference from now and then when we were kids is the things that we've gone through, experiences that we've gone through, good, bad, ugly, sad, whatever it is. But the experiences that we've gone through have now created this adult that's got all this like armor, like the suit of armor on. And now we don't allow people to get close. We don't allow people to be, helpful. We question anything and everything that looks like something that we would owe somebody for, right? And so we become almost almost think about it like we become cynical. And that's something that's very different about when we're kids. When we're kids, we're not cynical. We don't understand even what that word means. What we understand is there's mean people and there's mean kids and there's nice kids. That's what we understand when we're growing up. Unfortunately, back when I was fortunately back when I was growing up, we had a lot of outs, right? We were always out and about playing with other kids. So we didn't have a lot of time to play video games. We didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of the things that the kids nowadays are doing, right? First of all, our parents didn't allow us to be locked up in a room all day long. And in anything, they tell us to go out and play. Times were different, right? And then so nowadays, and this is for all of you men out there that have kids and that are raising kids and that are sometimes a kid, right? That you understand that times are very different, but they're the same, right? The only difference is, nowadays, since we're so busy and we've got all these things going on and we can't find time for anything that's important to us, right? And it goes back to the family, right? Family is the most important thing in our lives. We work so hard for our family. We care so much of our family. Everything we do is for our family. Yet we don't even we don't give the time to our family, which time, is going to become it's going to become a focal point of the Silent Man. We have no time to spare. We need to start doing the work now, today, right now, this second. The work starts now. Put away all your, anything that you think is important and then start putting time and effort into you now, right? Because you need to become the best version of yourself. You get to become the best version of yourself. You get to choose to become the best version of yourself now. Because if you don't, guess what? If you have kids, they don't get to go. What does that mean? That means that they're going to be stuck socially, morally, they're going to be stuck in being the version of themselves they are right now that you've taught them by giving them an option of just not doing anything, right? So back in the day, like I said, the difference between now and then was parents were involved in their kids' lives. And we were always being like, hey, where are you? What are you doing? Our parents knew where we were at all times. Somehow or other, they knew. And if they didn't know, they would worry. And nowadays, kids lock themselves up in rooms. There's cyberbullying. There's all kinds of craziness going on out there because they have all this technology at their fingertips. And because of that, they're able to go ahead and actually, work up these ideas about, how they should be, right? And like I said, there's a lot of things that are the same from back then and now, and there's a lot of things that are different. But going into that, it's got a lot to do with the inner child in you, okay? Because now we're adults. Now, like I said, now we're going through it, and we're living it. And what makes it very hard is that we're still a kid, How does that look? Well, when you don't like something, you stand your ground, right? But you don't stand your ground in the sense of, like there's a purpose for you to stand your ground. You're standing your ground because you're pouting. You're basically throwing a tantrum. Think about it. So the inner child works very simple. It's got programs that's basically been, learned at that young age. And then you went through your teens, and then you went through your other ages, and now you're an adult. And now as an adult, you still might have the same programs running you when you were a kid. And those programs are basically learned. But get this, okay? It's not that they can be unlearned. It's that you can create a new program to go ahead and to have it serve you to be a better version of yourself now, because you want to win in order for those in your family that you say you love and that are important to you, that they also win, right? And the way that a win looks is that because you become a better version of yourself, right? Think about it this way: emotionally, physically, spiritually, you've become a better version of yourself. And the way that will look is you've got more energy to spend with your family, more energy to do things for yourself. You're not just sitting and not doing anything. You become the best version of yourself that's urgent. And when you have urgency in your life, it looks like this. I gotta go to sleep. I gotta wake up early. I got stuff to do. I'm going. I'm spending time with my family. I'm being there for my family. I'm being a responsible adult. I'm taking care of my needs. I'm taking care of the needs of my family. And then at the end of the day, I'm recapping absolutely everything that happened, not only in my life, but in the life of my family. And now I'm basically working on any type of solutions for any type of problems. And then now we have the end of the day, and now tomorrow is going to be a better day, right? And that's the way life is going to start looking. But you have to choose it. And so once again, going back to the inner child, we have to start there. That's where we have to start in order to start working on all of you men out there. We have to start working on the inner child. The inner child is basically what's been running us. It runs us. You just don't know it. And so the way we have to start is we have to create a new program that serves us. And that could look easily like, hey, I'm an amazing person. I love myself. I'm proud of myself for taking care of my family. I'm proud that I wake up every morning. I'm proud that I'm a fighter. I'm like, talk to yourself in a very positive way and give yourself the best advice possible. Because you're also, like I said, you want, if you want to be, if you want your family to win, you've got to be a winner already. And like I said, you've got to continue working on yourself. And it doesn't end. Like I said, this is like an every single day process, right? And think about it like exercise. So the guy that exercises daily, consistently, and has a plan of how he's going to achieve his goals, is doing it over and over and over, right? And it goes back to a lot of things that have happened throughout time. Edison doing the light bulb, over 10,000 times before he got it right. Other people in life that didn't give up and continuously did the same thing over and over and over and over until they got a different result. That's the way we have to lead our life now. In order for change to happen, we need to start with changing ourselves. And the way that looks is easy. You got to do something different. If you say, hey, you know what? My job sucks. I don't like it. I don't want to be here. But yet every single day you show up at your job and you do the same thing over and over again, yet you don't do anything different. There's a perfect example. Or if you've got issues in your marriage and with your girlfriend, with your fiance, with your significant other, yet you're not willing to do anything different because you feel like you're going to cause problems, you're going to cause ripples in your relationship, yet you're doing the same thing over and over again, not getting different results. We all know that's the definition of insanity, right? And that's why a lot of us guys right now, me included, and like a lot of the guys that are listening to this show, it's one, maybe we don't speak, maybe we don't tell anybody what's going on, because we just assume they don't care. They got their own things going on, right? Once again, speaking personally from my side, well, they got their own stuff going on. Why should I have to share, what's going on with me? Or they should know, they should just know. And it's not like that, guys. It's like, it doesn't work. Like, we need to be vocal. And if the more vocal that you are, it's the stronger the possibility that you're going to do something different, and then things are going to change for you. And now you're going to become a positive source, right? Because there's an old saying that a negative and a positive will only create a negative. And that's the same way we have to start living our lives. Our lives are full of only positive things.